Going from one wasteland to another is what we all do these days, I suppose. I'm no different. Coming to the Mojave wasteland after seeing General Hodgekiss' call to arms mysteriously appear before me seemed like the call of fate I was hoping for. I thought this time would be different, but some things never change. It was a cool night when I first met Hodge, this tall, broad-shouldered man whose skin had turned to tough leather over his time in the desert. His smile was big, and his eyes hid behind dark mirrored sunglasses. A long brown duster covered an A-shirt above a pair of tattered camo pants snug tightly into tan leather combat boots. I can distinctly remember his words coming through that cracked smile, cornered by some gross white buildup. He looked thirsty. "Welcome to the hardest fucking thing you will ever have to do in your life," he said, after spitting on the ground, and he handed me a small package. I tucked the package away into my pack and received further info from Hodge that this would be traveling to the New Vegas Strip. Honestly, that's about all I remember. The next thing I know, I wake up bound at the hands and ankles with a splitting headache and some motherfuckers standing around arguing about killing me. The main guy, I assume, says he needs to look a man in the face before he kills him, that he isn't a fink, whatever that means. White pants, checkered black and white jacket, gold ring, and dead eyes. He looked at me, pulled out a poker chip out of his pocket, and said I made my last delivery. Placed it back in his pocket, pulled a gun out, and after a loud crack, everything went black. I woke hazy and confused. I was sure I was dead. There was some old man, bald with a thin mustache, standing over me, telling me to calm down. How'd he calm down in a situation like this? We all come from a pretty fucked up place these days, and I seen some shit. But kills for a poker chip? And now alive somehow? The man introduced himself as Doc Mitchell, and explained that I was brought in by a metal man. What? And that I'd been shot, but that he rooted around in my brain and took out all the lead. All this, very comforting. He then wanted to do some tests on me, to make sure he didn't ruin my brain, I presume. You know what, though? I fucking owe the guy. Without his help, and I guess this metal man, I would be a goner. I'll have to pay this metal man a visit when I get out of Mitchell's place. He finished up his tests, and Doc set me up with some clothing that smelled like dust. Fit me okay, though, and I appreciated not having things covered in my own blood. He told me to meet with some gal named Sunny, who might be able to help me out further. She'd be at the saloon across town. I thanked him one last time and headed towards the saloon. After all this, I could use a drink. In front of the bar, there was a man who described himself as a prospector. He was much older than me, a surprising feat these days in any town. When I asked if there was gold or other precious metals he was prospecting for in these parts, he just laughed. He explained that prospectors in these parts aren't out for gold, but old tech and abandoned buildings around the Mojave. It was his main source of income until he got too old to deal with the bandits that were encroaching on the territory. I bid him farewell. Good Springs, as I learned it was called, is about as barren as the rest of the Mojave. Not many people live here, and by the looks of it, wildlife is just as dominant here as the human locals. I would soon learn just how right I was. Sunny is a young woman, but tough-looking. Red hair tied back in a tight ponytail, and a hodgepodge of leather armor strapped with a rifle. I introduced myself, and she had a rifle for me. She asked me if I wanted some help learning the rifle, and I accepted. Honestly, I was unsure of how my aim would be after being shot in the head myself. Thankfully, that was unaffected. I blasted some empty bottles off the fence behind the bar, and after seeing how proficient I was with the rifle, Sonny asked me for some help clearing out some of the local wildlife from wells around town. Not many sources of clean water, and the humans are fighting with God knows what for resources in these parts. When we got close to the well, Sonny informed me that we were after giant geckos. Doc Mitchell treats more gecko bites than anything in these parts, so they need to be dealt with as quickly as possible. Sure enough, when we got to the first well, there were 2 geckos there already. I tried to sneak up on them, but they caught wind of me somehow. They charged at me like maniacs, their bright skin shining and their jaws filled with menacing, sharp teeth. I'd imagine a bite from one of these certainly could lead to nasty infection. I was quick, and with a strange, almost computer-like agency, I was able to freeze time in my head, during which I simultaneously understood what chance I had to hit anything I was aiming at. I'll have to ask Doc Mitchell about this strange side effect of his brain surgery. After the geckos were killed, and their hides and meat collected, I found some empty glass bottles and picked them up. Someone's got to clean this place up. Then Sonny asked me for help clearing a few more wells. Lucky I did, because we found a settler at one site being attacked by 3 geckos. We saved that woman's life. Those who know me know I'm no hero. I'm still happy that Sonny and I were there. We completed that work, and Sonny said she could sew me some cool survival stuff, but that I'd need to collect some ingredients first. Some xander root and brock flower. That took me until nighttime, after traveling to the schoolhouse and the graveyard in Good Springs. Sonny and I met at the well campfire at dusk. She showed me how to make healing powder. I think this will come in handy. I'm also realizing my rifle looks pretty busted. I better fix this soon. Before I left, Sonny let me know there's a matriarch in town named Trudy who would like to meet me. I figured I could make one more stop before bed, so I headed to the Prospector Saloon, where Sonny told me Trudy bartends. I walked past the vacant stool the old man was sitting on earlier, and I could hear yelling inside. I walked through the door, into the pool room, and through the entryway into the bar. There was an angry man yelling at this poor woman, saying that she was hiding some fellow named Ringo, and that it would be smart to give him up. I was able to calm the situation, but not by much. I engaged the man in conversation, and figured maybe the woman would bludgeon him from behind. She didn't. The man told me that he was part of a gang that had escaped from a nearby prison and that they claimed the territory as their own. Now they were the ones calling the shots. I got him to tell me what he was in prison for, but honestly, it didn't impress me. I'd known worse than the wasteland I'd grown up in. After we talked, this guy Carve ran off, and I got to talk with Trudy one-on-one. I wanted to know what she knew about the men who shot me. First, we talked about this Ringo character. Indeed, he is holed up in town. Trudy would honestly just like him to leave at this point to disperse the trouble from Good Springs. I agreed to chat with him, and hastily turned the conversation toward my attempted murderers. Unfortunately, her information on the people who shot me was pretty spotty. Apparently, the gentlemen were arguing about which way they were going, and the main one was shushing them. But they talked about going to the strip and getting there as fast as possible. Trudy says the only safe way to go would be I-95 all the way up. I think I know which way I'm headed then. Now to decide how to handle Ringo in Good Springs, and where do I find this metal man?